This is Cyber Smokehouse, and I'm Ernie.
And I'm Graeme.
Join us as we grill the minds, dig into the experience, and serve up the stories of leaders in cybersecurity.
Cyber Smokehouse is sponsored by TBD Cyber, a cybersecurity strategy consulting firm.
Today's guest is someone we are thrilled to have on the show. He's a healthcare cybersecurity executive, program turnaround leader, former consultant from top brands like Booz Allen, Deloitte, Bearing Point, and trusted CISO advisor. He has revitalized enterprise security programs across major healthcare systems, turned stagnant functions into high-performing operations. He is an advisory board member for Rubrik and TrustWave. He is the Chief Information Security Officer at Temple Health. Hugo Lai, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ernie. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's light the fire and crank up the heat in the smokehouse. So, Hugo, as you look out at the cybersecurity industry, what's the big challenge you see that's facing many organizations?
Wow, that's plenty right now. I'm sure every healthcare organizations are, very tight with budget at the moment, so that severely impacts, cybersecurity. But with the organization embracing AI, so there's a lot of initiatives around data security as well. And ransomware continues to be an issue, for healthcare organizations. So, these are often the top priorities, or things that I'm concerned about.
So let's drill into some of those. So the budget question, right? So what have you found in terms of that's worked, or as you talk to others in the industry, how are they justifying their budgets? Are they using kind of return on investment? What are people generally doing to kind of approach getting the appropriate funding to fund their initiatives?
Right. Good question, Grant. So I'm kind of one of the lucky CISOs out there that I don't usually have to defend my budget. But I guess you just have to develop that reputation, right? That you are very cautious about where you're spending. You have to spend smart. So oftentimes, what we do is, take a look at, across the program, right? And find out, obviously, you mentioned return on investments, what makes the most sense, to spend in cybersecurity. And try to align as much as you can, right, with other organization initiatives. Yep. So do the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, what I've seen, if you go back several years now, I guess, when HIPAA first came in, that drove a lot of initiatives initially in healthcare. But it's been a while since HIPAA was enacted, and there hasn't really been a lot of updates to it. So, you think that we've kind of the compliance side of healthcare security is kind of addressed now, and it's more focused on things like how do we support the new technology initiatives, the expansion of electronic medical records, AI, leveraging AI, those types of things. Yeah.
Yeah, HIPAA hasn't been updated for the longest time, and there's certainly a lot more conversations within the healthcare leaders as of what is more appropriate, right, from a cybersecurity standpoint. When HIPAA initially came out, the focus is on the privacy of patients' information, and I think that is still very important. But obviously, technologies have changed. The risk landscape has changed since early 2000, and there should be a little bit more focus on business resilience, right? And we have seen it in the past where many healthcare organizations, their operations were interrupted by supply chain issues, by ransomware, right? So I think the focus nowadays should really be, okay, how do we maintain healthcare operations? Because we know, right, like even the most secure organizations, they can still get breached, right? So it's having that mindset and be ready. It's critically important that healthcare operations are maintained, and support the patients, as much as we can. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the operational processes now are very heavily reliant on technology in healthcare, right? I mean, we all experience that when all the medical records maintained online, and everything, checking in for your GP visit or whatever, everything's all done online. So, um, I mean, it is. I guess my question is, how well are healthcare organizations kind of prepared in that to operate in the absence of some of those key, systems that they rely on today? Is that kind of muscle memory still there? Can they go back to manual records or alternative ways of serving patients?
Right. No, excellent question. So I don't think any providers or clinicians wants to go back to manual operations, right? But again, this is exactly the reason why we need to help them trained and be prepared, right? Because just like you said, it's been a long time, right, since they manually have to write a script, for example. They they practiced, that skill a long time ago, but periodically, just like anybody else, right, we can refresh that skill sets, right, every now and then. Um, but yeah, as much as you're trying to help the organizations, the clinicians, to be prepared, there are a lot of safety features that are built into the modern EMR systems, right? So the best thing that you can do is, still, right, making sure that you are doing everything that you can to protect the organization, but at the same time, be mindful that in case, there is a disruption, and sometimes, disruptions comes in many forms, right? It doesn't have to be a ransomware attack. It can be a power outage, for example, right? It may not be cyber related, but nevertheless, as a healthcare organizations, when you still are supporting a critical patient functions, right? Like you need to make sure that those operations are maintained.
So Hugo, do you actually build in like testing and running manual processes in your resilience plans, just so when those go down, that you can continue to operate just without IT? Is that built in, or is it really focused on just how do you get those systems back up?
We try to partner with our operational leaders, right, and make sure that they understand there's only so much that IT can do, right? Like when the technology stack fails, so we we make sure that message is loud and clear, and obviously, we do check-ins with them periodically, making sure that we're providing tabletop exercises to them, right? So that they are prepared.
So you mentioned AI too. So you know, as a security leader, how do you see your role in helping the organization? I guess both from an adoption of AI, as well as how do you see it from protecting the organization?
I'm a strong believer where that if you cannot just like prevent things from happening, particularly if the trend is to adopt the use of AI, right? So I think it's more important to provide a safe environment for your users, so that they can use AI responsibly, right? And it's really no different than many years ago when HIPAA came out, right? Like, okay, you have it is the user's responsibility to protect PHI information, right? And as IT leaders, as security leaders, we're just making sure that we're providing that platform, right? Providing a tool that is safe and secure, for our users to use. But at the end of the day, right, like it is their responsibilities to make sure that the data doesn't end up where it shouldn't belong, right? And AI is the same thing, right? Like we want to make sure that we're providing approved tools for our clinicians out there, and continue to provide guidance to them as of there may be tools out there that that is not safe or insecure to use.
And what about you as a practitioner, right? So, I mean, for whatever reason in healthcare, you just have to do more with less. I mean, are you finding efficiencies in ways that you can do your job better, and you can, I don't know, get rid of tier one analysts using AI? Are you finding the efficiencies, or is it just not there yet?
There are pockets of areas that we find AI to be useful. So far, we haven't seen anything that um, that is transformative in a sense, right? I'm sure that every department, every team, they can leverage AI in some way, and you just have to encourage your staff, like, hey, maybe take a look at the current processes, right? Like, find out what are some of the automations that we can do, or find out where we can leverage AI more into your operations, right? And I feel that this is more like augmenting your staff and providing them or equipping them with better tools, right? So that their operations become more efficient. I don't think we're quite ready to say that, there are staff that it can be replaced by AI. I honestly haven't seen that yet. But in the future, what's going to happen? I don't know. But I think we just need to continue, right, to explore what AI can do, and find out what are some of the operations that it can be fine-tuned by AI at the moment.
Okay. Well, so it's you talk about the staff and team. I'm kind of curious about leadership and your team in general. So I don't know. Talk to us about your team and your leadership style. I mean, what are some top things that you do with your team that works well?
I think as a leader, you want to empower them as much as you can, but there are different personalities within a team as well, right? So you kind of have to really understand each and every one of them and try to maximize their potential the best that you can. Everyone is motivated a little differently, right? So I think understanding your staff, and provide guidance, and as well as like making sure that they are doing something that motivates them, that interests them, right? So using the staff in the right task, I think that's important skill sets, for executives to have. Yeah.
And then how about just communicating across the team? I mean, like, is there a cadence you use? Do you do, weekly meetings? Like, how do you make sure everybody's talking and you're collaborating and you're just, having a good cohesive, forward thinking, just everybody's working on the same page? Like, what's your communication structure with your team?
So for my team, we have a lot of touch base, throughout the day. And we try to leverage those touch points to make sure that everyone is informed of what we're doing, right? I'm particularly proud that, for my team, every morning we actually start with a quick briefing. And we start with a little bit of a threat intel, so that we are all starting the day, with the right initiatives, knowing that what we need to pay attention to. And obviously, we also have like projects that we need to focus on, right? And we also have like periodic touch base, on projects and things like that. Yeah, but I think those morning meetings like really help because that set the tone for the day.
Wow, you do an operational daily brief. That's really cool. That's awesome. That's good.
Sounds like we're in the military, isn't it?
No, but I like it. Yeah. I mean, we do like a beginning of the week, kind of set the tone for the week, and then we check in at the end of the week. But we're a different industry, right? We're consulting, so I like that. That's good.
But we try to be very efficient too, right? Like these are not like long meetings, but like really, okay, just try to have a good understanding of like what's happening in the world right now, right? The top things that we need to pay attention to, and then get the team going. Yeah.
And that's not me saying you shouldn't do it. So funny story. We, when Graham and I, we started this company, we just wanted to reflect and just make sure we weren't doing things just to do them. So we did our weekly Friday meetings, and we were at one point going to make them every other meetings, and we almost had a mutiny. Like the team was mad. I don't want to say mad, but they really liked that because we're a fully remote team, and they were just like, well, this is how we're connected. You can't cancel the Friday meetings. And they found it very important. So I mean, like it was really a good anchor point. So I think that you're doing them daily, and they appreciate that. And since the cadence is really good, so I don't know, that's good.
Yeah, I found it to be like incredibly helpful. So immediately after our intel briefings, we also have meetings with IT as well, right? So we quickly go over, what are the changes that we have, or planning for the rest of the week, right? Any issues that comes up, overnight, right? Those are extremely helpful, from my opinion, because you get to understand, okay, what are some of the issues or challenges the other team is having, and it also provides you with a platform, right? Like in case like you have something that you want the other teams to know about, like, hey, there's a 0-day that came out, we need to patch immediately, for example. That's the perfect avenue, to share those type of information.
So I guess one other question more on retention. So, I know a little bit about the healthcare space, and usually you guys are more budget constrained. So usually people aren't there for the money, right? You're there for other reasons. And obviously it's, you have something else. So, Hugo, I've known you for a while, so you're an awesome guy. So people probably like working for you. But what other things you do from a retention standpoint to, keep people around? Like what do you do to make it a good environment that they want to stick around and keep working for you?
Right. No, I think you touched on that, right? Like people who work in healthcare, there's usually something that makes them want to work in the industry, right? And usually it's to provide the best patient care. So um, that mission, I think you have to just make sure that your staff believe in it, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we do. That's why we, wake up early in the morning or stay up late in the evening, right? Is to provide, making sure that we have or minimize the interruptions, right, as much as we can when we do patching and things like that. In addition to that, I think it's just having a close relationship, with the team, and just doing the basics. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, you're saving lives a lot of the times, which is very cool. I mean, or sometimes you're curing cancer. You're trying to cure cancer. You're solving those problems, which is very impactful. I mean, that's a good mission. So very cool. All right. Hey, so switching gears, I want to get a little bit to the technical side, and I'm actually very curious about this too. So medical devices. So you have a lot of devices out there, which you probably sometimes just can't fix things, right? Or you just can't make changes because you'll break them and potentially like kill people. So how do you deal with those devices where, there may be vulnerabilities or you just can't make quick changes? Like, do you isolate them off? I mean, this is probably stuff you deal with all the time, but for me, it's not as deep in that. Like, how do you deal with these IoT devices that you maybe can't make changes, but you gotta, I don't know, you gotta do something with them? What's the approach? Just not necessarily just for Temple, but the community. How do you handle that?
Right. At the end of the day, that's just like managing risk, right? Operational risk. So there's different ways to handle in different situations. And you have to try all of them, quite honestly, because I don't think there's a one approach that fits all organizations. I know that when we initially started, the challenge is visibility, right? Understanding like what you have, what are some of the OT or IMOT devices that's connected to your network. But once you have the visibility, then you have to, take the next step to it, right? Like, can you do anything about it, right? Does the organization have the funding to replace the device, things like that? So um, you just have to try everything, right? Like, okay, do the patching, right? Like, do the configuration management, making sure that passwords, default passwords are changed, making sure that you have network segmentation in place, right? Um, and quite honestly, like, there's no one size fit all. You just have to develop a program that incorporate all these components, right? And work with your biomed leaders to make sure that the risks are managed, right? Like, we cannot completely eliminate all the risks out there, but I think it's important that you have a strategy and you're making sound decisions, right? Like when managing risks.
So obviously, you're in a pretty, there's a lot of advances in technology happening in all different fields, but medical advances in medical technology is also pretty amazing. Some of the things that have happened over the last few decades, and so as you how do you keep up to date? How do you what do you read? What do you listen to? How do you keep yourself kind of up to speed?
Right. So I have the fun commute, right? Like, I live in Northern Virginia, and Temple Health is in Philly. So I have a 2.5 commute, right, every single week. So I try to, listen to podcasts like audiobooks on the way, and that's really helpful. And nowadays, I think you just have to expect that, you are required, right, to spend additional time and hours, outside of work, just to improve, right, or learn new skill sets, right, like AI being one, right, being so new, and everyone just got to try, right? Like there's quantum out there, like there's like so many things that you just have to be aware of, like, right, like blockchains, for example. Um, so it's not only just the technologies is advancing. You also needs to make sure that not only yourself but your team and your staff, right? Because they are managing, these technologies, or monitoring these technologies on a regular basis. So everyone needs to be updated.
Yeah. Any favorite podcasts you want to call out?
I can use some recommendations. I usually skip around quite a bit. Yeah, because yeah, with the commute, I need like fresh content, right? Like on a regular basis. So if you have anything, that you can recommend, like let me know. Yeah.
There's so much out there. It's good though. That's great. Yeah, there's a lot of good content and a lot of interesting stuff going on. So that's great. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the future. So as you look out, say over the next a couple of years, what excites you from a kind of technology perspective? What key things are you excited about?
Wow, what key things I'm excited about. I'm genuinely excited about AI. Not so much about, my how AI would impact my job per se, but more like impact how AI is impacting, day-to-day lives, right? We may be looking at, robots, at home, for example, right? I think those are really cool things to look forward to. Autonomous driving, for example, like we may still be like many years away, but nevertheless, just when I was a kid, I remember, looking at some of these movies, right? That's exactly how they depict it, like many years ago. And now, you finally get a glimpse of that, right? Like it may be happening, sometime soon. So I'm personally very excited about it. Um, yeah, but in cyber, it's frustrating. Like quite honestly, I don't think like I'm excited about new technologies, because what that means is that there's just new ways to exploit, right? Technology. So from a practitioner standpoint, I'm like, oh God, it's something more that we have to worry about.
But even to your point, like even how quickly it's moved in the last couple of years, it's been really exciting. So just to your point, to see where it's going to go in the next 5, it's going to be crazy. I mean, even 10 years from now, it's going to be like, this is a good shift, like the internet, like coming out. It's going to be exciting. I agree with you.
Is accelerating, yeah, in a very rapid pace, right? Like, or even like when I look at, kids, what they're studying nowadays is so different than what I learned back at school many years ago, right? They're expected, to learn like new subjects and, things that I not even touched, until college, right? But now kids are learning that like in high school, and that's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, speaking of kids, we want to learn a little bit about you. So let's go back to little Hugo. So how did you get from little Hugo to cybersecurity? How did you get into cybersecurity? I mean, most of us old guys, we just fell into it. We like computers and we fell into it. What's your story?
Wow, my story. So, I graduated from GW many years ago, and so I've been living in the area, for a long time now. I remember back in 2001, September 11th, when that happened. So I was doing my internship actually, not too far away from the White House. So that was a surreal moment for me, right? It's like, okay, oh my gosh, right? Like if this can happen in the physical world, right, this can also happen in the cyber world. So, after that, I just want to learn more about, not IT in general, but specifically in cyber, right? Like, what are some of the things that we can do, to prevent, bad people from hacking our infrastructures and things like that. So I got really fascinated, and get my master's degree, from GW with a little bit of focus in cyber. Back then they don't even offer like a cybersecurity program. So I'm just kind of following, a professor who has a strong interest in cyber, and that's how everything gets started. So.
Wow. All right. So a little more structured than some of us. Some of us, I guess, as you get older, yeah, it was a little more logical. Yeah. All right. So how about the younger folks that are out there? If you have any advice for people coming up in cyber, do you have any advice? Someone that's on a track to be a CISO? Is it don't be a CISO? Is it just find something else? Do another job?
I'll never say don't be a CISO, but like for those who are interested in cyber, I think what you just mentioned makes perfect sense, right? Like you may have started off as an admin of some sort, right? But then you gradually picked up, on cyber. I think that's the perfect way to get into cyber, right? And I think those type of skill sets is very relevant, because when you learn about like when you picked up like CISSP per se, right? Like all it is just principles and best practices, right? But the difference is like how do you apply, right, what you learn from the textbook, into real life, right? And that comes from your day-to-day experiences, right? So learning on the job, I think that makes perfect sense. And I actually prefer, staff who are experienced in IT, right? Rather than just, coming out, from with a cybersecurity degree, right? Because they can talk, but they can't do oftentimes.
So what about the future for you career wise? Would you are you gonna finish your career as a CISO, or what do you think you would do next? Would you do a product company, or you're gonna retire as an author? I don't know. Actor.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know where the world is going in 3 years. I don't know. I certainly enjoy my job as a CISO, but I will follow my life as well, wherever it takes me. So I think there are many opportunities out there, and everyone should keep their eyes wide open. Yeah, because with technology, who's know, right? Like it is not so much about my choice, right? Maybe in 10 years, CISO's job may be obsolete, right? All you need is like an AI CISO. So yeah, let's find out.
All right, so let's pivot to the smokehouse. So tell us a little bit about are you a griller? Do you smoke food? What's your passion in cooking?
I love barbecue. Oh, by the way, when speaking about cooking, very recently, right? Like I just learned how to bake cookies for the first time from my daughter. So I was extremely impressed, about her cookies. So I tried and baked some and bring it back to the office. Luckily, no one got poisoned, and people seems to be really happy about my cookies. So I'm very proud of that. But aside from that, yeah, like I absolutely love barbecue. So yeah, I do have a small grill at home. And I'm from Hong Kong, and we love meat. So like, hey,
Well, you gave us a you gave us a meat consumption fact. I thought when we spoke earlier. What was it?
Yes, yeah. So I read something on the news the other day, and I found it very interesting. Where people consume, the most meat, per person. I think on average, actually, Hong Kong was number one. Consume in average like more than like 140 kilograms of meat a year. That's like absolutely amazing. I would, thought that okay, maybe US or maybe somewhere in South America, but as it turns out, it's Hong Kong. Yeah.
So if we didn't learn anything about cybersecurity, you just learned something about grilling. So there you go, or just meat consumption. So that's good.
Right. Meat consumption. There we go. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite recipe that in the way that you cook your barbecue, do you have a kind of an Asian flavor to it, or?
So one year, okay, here's another story that I can tell. Like one year I made turkey with an Asian recipe. Okay. I don't think everybody enjoyed it, but I absolutely loved it. Like I'm the only one from the family who enjoyed that. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, like, I mean, Korean barbecue, for example, is great. I love Korean barbecue. That's a great flavor. You know, a lot of meats there. So, yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
We got to start doing a link on on our Smokehouse website. Just say, our guest favorite recipe. That's what we should start doing, Graeme.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. I'll put down my cookie recipes.
Yeah, I like the idea of the. I'm interested in the Asian turkey. That sounds interesting. My favorite for so my turkey favorite on the Traeger is getting turkey breasts and wrapping them in bacon and then smoking them, and all the bacon sort of flavor goes into the turkey breast, and it's pretty good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, hey, Hugo, if people want to get in touch with you, are you out there on LinkedIn, or is there any good way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Yeah, found me on LinkedIn. Yeah, happy to get connected and meet some new people. Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Hugo. It's been great. Thank you, audience. If you learned something today or laughed, please tell someone about the podcast. Thank you again, Hugo.
Thank you for having me, Ernie. Thank you, Graeme. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. This has been another exciting episode of the Smokehouse, and we'll see you next time. And that wraps another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at cybersmokehouse.com. Cyber Smokehouse is sponsored by TBD Cyber, a cybersecurity strategy consulting firm.
TBD Cyber works with organizations to assess their security program, develop and implement security initiatives, and optimize their security investments. We work in areas as broad as data security, risk management, cyber resilience, and security architecture. Our clients value us for our extensive expertise and independent advice, which is why we do not sell security products or deliver managed security services. If you want to work with a trusted advisor, we can help. You can learn more at tbdcyber.com. We'll see you on the next one.